Welcome back to the Stockwell and Roche Show. We are talking with Wes and Paul with Durand Repair and Restoration about safety in your house with your chimney. And it's very something if you have an older home, you live in a suburb or you live in Minneapolis or St. Paul, and you have a home that has a chimney and it's gas and it hasn't been converted to fireplace, and you maybe have used it, maybe you haven't, maybe you're afraid to, maybe you don't know, and you hear of people burning down their house, you hear of safety issues and all those things. And we have some great information for you on what to do and what to watch out for, because there's some scams going on, and we all hate to hear about scams and things like that. But it's a situation where you can take advantage of people because of the threat or the fear of having a fire by having a fire in your house, or by lighting your fireplace up and having your house burned down or having something happen. It happened to friends in Edina, where we live, where they bought a house. I don't think they had a chimney inspection done, but they started a fire. I don't know if it was for Thanksgiving or something like that, or before, and they noticed that the wall, something on the wall happened. The drywall or plaster, I don't know what it was.
Outside the chimney chase, inside the house.
Inside the house, above the mantle. And then they I think one of them put their hand, the husband or the wife put their hand on it. It was just super hot, burning hot. And then they tried to put it all out, but it had already started inside. And by the end, they had sprayed water all over, hammered out the hole above the thing, and they got it out. But the whole side of the house ended up getting damaged, and smoke damage too.
Yep.
So there's some real issues if you don't have it tested. But let's hear, Dawn, I'm curious to hear your story about what happened with your fireplace and your scam, if you will.
Yeah, so I had a company come out to clean my chimneys. I didn't ask them to put a camera down. I just asked for a chimney cleaning. They come out and tell me I needed $7,000 of work on my chimney. The whole thing had to be taken down. It was built improperly, and it was unsafe to use. If I ever lit a fire in it, the house was going to burn down. And I was like, oh, my gosh, that was crazy. So I happened to know Wes, and I gave him a call, and I said, okay, you need to come out and take a look at my chimney and tell me what's going on. Wes came out, took a look. The chimney is built correctly, 1957 house. It was dirty, even though it had been cleaned. And I was told that what is the thing on the firebox?
Yeah, well, you have an ash dump access that's down there, which is no longer there. We replaced that, got rid of it.
Yes. So that actually went to below my house. It was the strangest thing ever. And you couldn't access the ash dump anymore because they had put in a gas fireplace below. But that actually was unsafe. That part was unsafe, and it was charring the wood under the fireplace because it was direct contact with the hot ash that I was dumping down there. So Wes came over and corrected it, and it was probably a $200 repair as opposed to a $7,000 repair. Right. Now, I did not do a chimney inspection when I bought the house, and I wish that I had. But how much does a chimney inspection cost?
A chimney inspection costs roughly about $150 is what it really amounts to for firebox per fireplace. So an inspection would detail us obviously doing both interior and exterior. The one thing that we one of the reasons we continue to get referral business, I firmly believe, is because we just shoot people straight. It is what it is. And I take pictures and document everything. So if I come out to your house, Jason, for example, and I take a picture of your chimney chase, I'm going to take a picture of it. I'm going to say, Jason, do you or do you not see that crack there? Here's the deal. That crack is either a shrink crack from a cap that's just old, and while it was curing and freezing thaw cycles, it's, it can be fixed by you resurfacing the cap with a polymer. Is that a savings? Absolutely. It's a difference between saving about $1,200 to $900 to replace the whole cap versus having us do like a $300 repair. But the point is if the repair is needed, I'm going to tell you that it's there and it needs to be, and I'm going to document it. Okay, that's number one. Number two is that we're also going to look inside the firebox, and we're going to test the mechanicals of it. We're going to make sure the damper functions, or in some cases, as we found, it does happen, believe it or not, the damper's been removed. We just looked at a house, for example, that you guys are going to put on the market here and very shortly in Edina, And we did a chimney inspection for this lady, and her upstairs fireplace is straight out, flat out missing the damper. The damper's just not there. It's gone. It was removed. I have some theories as to how that happened. We don't need to get into that. The point is that it just isn't there. And if you didn't know, you didn't know. But so we look at all the mechanics. We make sure everything's good to go. And then we'll look at things, for example, as Don was mentioning, this ash dump. I want to clarify that ash dump because that was a very unique situation you're not going to see very often. The access to empty that out, usually in a colonial-style house, you're going to see it, and you can check these. We did a tutorial on Facebook, and I've got 2 videos that we went through and did all this stuff. So you can find it, Duran, what is it, Paulie? Is it Brickstone and Chimney? I think we have it listed on his Facebook.
Duran, Brickstone
and Chimney, just because it's easier for people if they're doing a Facebook search. We found that people they put in brick or masonry or chimney, and those are the kind of the keyword searches. That's why we did it differently on Facebook. It just makes it easier for people to find us, we think.
Yep.
So in particular with Don's situation, the access absolutely most likely was covered up. You're going to find that ash dump, like you were talking about your house in Edina, where there's that ash dump on the inside at the base in the mechanical room. Well, that was probably going to be where Don's new gas insert, or the gas insert that they put in at the time, was. And it was the same on another home that I had done an inspection for earlier that year, the client of yours. But here's the key, the scariest part of this, was that when you took the ash dump out, the access part of it, it's a plate that's probably, I don't know, what do you think, Paul, 6 inches?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, about a half a foot long by about 3 or 4 inches wide. The door swivels. Anyway, the real scary part of it is that the trusses underneath the floor, okay? So you frame in a house, you're putting a floor on, right? And you got these trusses that run, the support beams that run in your floor. Those trusses, believe it or not, were actually exposed below, underneath, inside, below where that ash dump is. So if you reach down inside there was raw wood, totally exposed, and it was all charred and flaked off, and we pulled several pieces, and I gave Don one piece, and you could smell it. It was burned. So you can imagine if that ash dump got back-billed, and those ashes were smoldering there, it could light the whole house on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole bottom of it. So that was a little creepy. That was a little scary to find. It's not pleasant news to tell somebody that, but the good news, it was found and nothing came of it. Yep. But it very well certainly could have. And then in terms of this chimney fire you're talking about, or potential fire for friends of yours, that's going to happen where there's air gaps in the through wall cavity. So when you stud a house off and you have these studs that are every 16 inches in a wall, what's required now, you'll find insulation, right, in the walls. Okay, well, what you really should have in there, and what the city of St. Paul, Minneapolis required by code, is something called mineral wool. And there are a couple of different places that sell this in the Twin Cities. The number one supplier of it is Brock White. And they have got multiple different yards, one in Egan here and a couple of different other locations, Elk River and so forth. It's non-combustible insulation. It's made up of ground-up rock. And so when you're insulating the stud wall, the through wall, when you're building a house and you're going to put that in there, or you're re-insulating a home, if you can put that mineral wool on the studs inside there, it's a non-combustible insulation. So you're getting the R factor for the insulation, but you're also getting something that's not going to catch on fire. Now, of course, the studs could catch on fire, but at least the insulation that's wrapping around it. Yeah, makes sense.
So wow, that's a lot of information. I'm afraid to light a fire in my fireplace. I mean, if you're listening out there and you're hearing all this and you're like, wow, that's scary, here's something you've got to know. If someone comes out, let's talk about that, Wes. You have your chimney inspected and someone says, oh man, your house could burn down. You need to spend $5,000, $8,000, $7,000, $10,000 to fix it. What should they do? Obviously, they should call you for a second opinion, right?
Well, that's.
But what are you seeing out there? People like Dawn didn't have to replace her whole chimney. Is that something that's going on where people are overcorrecting or redoing a problem that they could have fixed in a different way?
Yeah, very much so. So here's the basics of this is simple. Okay, then there's lots of chimney sweeps. Okay, that have their chimney sweep business established. They're all over the Twin Cities, and you can call any of them. And just like anything else, I mean, there are guys that are straightforward and they do their job and they're good at it, and there are other guys that are let's put it that way, that aren't not quite ethical, and that's going to happen.
So they're using
unfortunately.
the chimney sweep as a means to upsell into something that costs.
You hit the nail right on the head. That's exactly what they're doing. So you call a chimney sweep to have them come out. They look at it. Yep. It needs
So they
to be
say, hey,
sweet.
we're going to do $150, $100, whatever. We'll give you a X amount on your chimney sweep. But they go there and then they see something. Now, it's truly a safety issue, or are they exaggerating the potential, or what's going on? I mean,
Combination. Most of the time, it's not a safety issue. There have been times where I've been called out to homes, and I've looked at stuff, and they've said, well, this could be a potential issue. And yeah, it could be. But then, does the issue stop right there? Is that it? Is that, if you fix that, is the problem solved? Or do you have to do the laundry list of other things that these people are saying that you have to do? And what we're finding, and I wish I could say it wasn't 9 out of 10 times, but it is 9 out of 10 times. And it's been that way for the last 2 to 3 years that we've been doing this and doing these inspections. I can honestly tell you that 9 out of 10 times we're seeing one problem, max, maybe a problem and a half, and then there's 9 other things that these people have added to the list that are, to be honest, just preposterous. I mean, saying that, for example, you need to put a stainless steel flue liner down a terracotta flue liner, I guess the question I usually start with my clients is, how old do you think the fireplaces that burn wood in the colonial New England colonies are? They're hundreds of years old.
Yep.
And they're still there, and they're still burning wood.
Yep. So watch out for that, folks. And if you have a fireplace, be sure to go to our Facebook page, Stockwell Roche. Find Paul and Wes's information there and get your fireplace checked out. Also, if you have had a scare or you've had someone tell you that you need an exorbitant amount of a fix, get a second opinion. We'll be back more with some good stories.